Incredible Journey, a pure, innocent girl's unexpected rise to a millionaire's heart revealed. Lily Thompson wiped down the counter of the family diner, feeling the weight of her responsibilities pull her down like a heavy quilt. 17 and already entrenched in a monotonous routine of school and work, she dreamed of a life beyond the greasy linoleum and the scent of burnt coffee wafting through the air. Her parents worked day and night, struggling to keep the diner afloat. Every penny mattered, and she could see the exhaustion etched on their faces. Stainless steel and faded red booths were the backdrop to her hopes, yet they felt like chains holding her down while the world outside buzzed with opportunities. Just as the bell above the door jingled, she straightened her shoulders. The door opened and an unfamiliar figure stepped inside. Jake Sullivan, dressed in a crisp suit that seemed to shimmer against the diner's worn decor, surveyed the room with an amused expression. His presence was like a sudden gust of wind, stirring a whirlwind of emotions within her. Curiosity, excitement, but also a gnawing anxiety. How could someone like him be interested in a place like this? "Is this the best pie in town?" he asked, his smile genuine yet searching. Lily felt a rush of warmth and set aside her trepidation. "It might just be," she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. As they talked, she felt a connection grow. He listened, genuinely interested in her stories about the diner and her heritage. She loved sharing the artisanal recipes her grandmother used, each one imbued with history and love. Jake seemed captivated, not just by the food, but by her passion, a light she had long thought dimmed under the burdens she carried. But as days turned into weeks, shadows loomed. A sudden health inspection rattled their lives, threatening to shut down the diner. The thought sent her into a spiral. What would happen to her parents? The weight of failure pressed down on her chest. She imagined the townsfolk whispering, pointing fingers at them, as though she were etched in neon failure. In that emotional turmoil, Jake's affluent background loomed over her like a cloud, a reminder that he could walk away from the struggles they faced. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The mounting pressure strained their bond. Jake faced family expectations that suffocated him, urging him to sever ties with less fortunate connections. Every time he visited, she saw the conflict twist in his blue eyes, the way his smile faltered at the edges. As conversations turned to arguing topics, his future versus her identity, a rift widened. The diner represented her essence, and yet it felt like an anchor, pulling her away from a life that could offer adventure. A night spent cooking together turned bittersweet. She caught glimpses of his hesitation, the quickened breaths that punctuated their laughter. How could she fit into his world? The thought lodged itself in her throat. Each recipe they shared became a tether to the life she wanted to transcend, a cruel reminder of what she would lose if everything fell apart. With every moment, the diner, her dream, and her heart danced on the edge of an abyss. Would she stay rooted in her family's legacy, or risk it all for a love both exhilarating and terrifying? Tension crackled in the air. Awaiting resolution felt like an eternity drowned in doubt, a choice that could redefine everything they held dear and hoped for. Lily stood in the diner's kitchen, her hands clutched against the cool countertop as memories of her grandmother's baking enveloped her like an embrace. The sweet scent mingled with the faint, acrid smell still lingering from the recent health inspection, each whiff uncovering layers of panic gnawing at her resolve. With her parents' faces etched in worry and the specter of the diner's fate looming over her, she resolved she couldn't let fear dictate her choices any longer. "Lily, you need to take a step back," her best friend Molly had said just days before. "Figure out what you want, really want." There was an unsettling resonance in Molly's advice that struck a nerve.
Lily had always chased after the requirements of family duty, but what would happen if she chose her own path instead? The thought sent shivers down her spine. Perhaps now was the time not just to endure the weight of her insecurities, but to reclaim her future. As she moved through the daily grind of customers and pie orders, her thoughts spiraled into action. She would learn about the business side of running a diner, not just the baking and cooking she had grown so fond of. She needed to turn their misfortune into a lifeline. She began to seek knowledge, emptying her pockets of change only to invest it in entrepreneurship books that crowded her mind with ideas and strategies. One fateful afternoon, she decided to approach the local business council, armed with questions that swirled in her head like flour in a mixing bowl. The council meeting was a bevy of suit-clad figures. It felt intimidating, an ocean of polished shoes and crisp ties that burrowed into her insecurities. Yet, as she stood up to introduce herself, she felt a surge of determination wash over her. "My family has run the diner for over 2 decades," she began, her voice trembling but clear. "I believe we have great potential, but challenges are pushing us to the brink. I want to learn how to adapt, innovate, and create a vision that brings people into our diner." At that moment, the looks of skepticism shifted. An older man, Mr. Harrison, leaned forward, intrigued. "What kind of innovation are you thinking?" She opened up about the idea of theme nights, local collaborations, sourcing from nearby farmers, and even offering cooking classes to involve the community. As she outlined her vision, she sensed the collective energy in the room transforming from doubt to intrigue. By the end of the meeting, Mr. Harrison approached her, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. "You're onto something, Lily. Don't be afraid to pursue it." The compliment filled her with a rush of invigoration, yet as she drove home that evening, an unsettling imbalance clouded her thoughts. The rift with Jake had deepened, his growing distance gnawing at her heart. She sensed his unspoken frustrations, the pressures of his world that clashed head-on with her dreams. She parked in front of the diner, conflicted by the dual paths unfolding before her, one paved with challenges and self-discovery, the other pulling her into a relationship that felt too precarious to navigate. Could she keep chasing both dreams without losing herself in the process? As she stepped into the diner, determination flared within her. She would take control of her fate, but at what cost? Little did she know, an unexpected encounter would soon follow that would put her to the test, leading her to decisions that could fracture or fortify the life she envisioned. Just as she began to strategize her next steps, the bell above the door jingled again, and as she turned, her heart sank. Jake stood there, his face a mask of determination and vulnerability intertwined, and she knew this was not over yet. Lily's heart raced as Jake stepped further inside the diner, the bright lights reflecting off the polished surfaces, creating a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within her. She caught a glimpse of the doubt clouding his eyes, moments swirling between them like dust motes dancing in the sun. Everything they had felt in love seemed to hang in the balance, intertwined with the precarious fate of the diner. "Can we talk?" Jake's voice broke through the hum of the diner, marked by a mix of desperation and determination. She nodded, unable to articulate the whirlwind of emotions surging beneath her composed exterior. The diner had always been their refuge, a place where laughter echoed from booths and dreams felt tangible between plates of food. But tonight, the air felt heavy, laden with unspoken thoughts. They found a quiet corner, the booth imbued with shadows, the familiar smell of coffee creating a bittersweet backdrop. "I've seen you working harder," Jake began, his voice softening, "and I just don't want to lose you." His words cut deeper than she expected. "Jake, I'm trying to find my way. I can't just—" "Neither can I," he interrupted, frustration edging his tone. "Do you even realize how hard it is to watch you chase something while I feel like I'm standing still? Every time I reach for you, you slip away." Lily's breath caught in her throat. She could see the insecurities he was battling, like reflections of her own. The realization stung. They were both navigating turbulent waters, yet she felt anchored, finally, to something worthwhile. "I have dreams, Jake. Dreams I've put aside for too long." He sighed,
running a hand through his hair, as if trying to comb out his thoughts. I know that, but can't we figure this out together? It was tempting, oh so tempting, to accept his plea. Yet, as she glanced around the diner, images of the vibrant future she envisioned flickered before her. Classes bustling with eager participants, community support rallying around their beloved diner, and her transformed identity as not just a baker but an innovator. Together? She questioned, her voice barely above a whisper. But what would that look like? As she spoke, ideas reconvened in her mind. They could create a lovely synergy, his passion for culinary arts colliding with her newfound knowledge of business. But every time she tried to envision together, a voice whispered of compromise. Her dreams shouldn't be stifled. The silence between them stretched thin, filled with tension and urgency. What if we each took time to chase our dreams? Lily finally proposed, feeling the weight of every word. What if we supported each other from a distance? Jake's expression shifted, a mixture of disappointment and understanding washing across his features. I don't want to lose you, Lily. I can't sit by while you become someone else. She absorbed his concern, questioning whether they could balance the dreams of two individuals against the foundation they had built together. Could they shape their identities without overshadowing each other's aspirations? Just then, Mr. Harrison entered the diner, his presence cutting through the moment. The business council's encouragement still echoed within her, promising vistas of potential. She could feel the constellations aligning. Maybe we can put our energies toward revitalizing the diner together, she said, her voice gaining clarity. You could help with the menu, and I'll work on bringing in customers. We can make it a collaborative experience, a way to elevate both of our ideas. The flicker of hope in Jake's eyes hinted at the possibility of bridge building. Yet self-doubt clawed at her resolve. Was this truly a partnership or a stepping stone to a compromise she feared to acknowledge? Let's try it, Jake replied slowly, the hesitation palpable. But I need to know you'll still be there for me. She nodded, but uncertainty nested deep within her. Support felt fickle next to growth. Still, the tantalizing possibility of overcoming these obstacles together was a sweet lure she couldn't resist. Continuing their conversation, they outlined a plan to revitalize the diner, harvest local ingredients, start community nights, and embrace culinary creativity. It was the spark she'd craved. Yet, as they forged ahead, the question, what if balancing love and ambition led her down a path neither had anticipated? Suddenly, the dynamics felt charged, every word a step deeper into uncharted territory. Opportunity shimmered ahead, but with it loomed ambition's demanding shadow. As tension built between hope and fear, Lily couldn't shake the thought. Was she ready to ride this wave, not just for the diner, but in her relationship with Jake as well? Her heart raced as she realized the balancing act had only just begun. Lily sat at the booth, her coffee growing cold as the adrenaline from their conversation faded into a contemplative haze. The diner buzzed around her, the usual chatter and clattering of cutlery serving as a backdrop to her turbulent thoughts. She had outlined the plan, but what lay ahead still felt like a maze without a map. Her mind raced through the possibilities. Revitalizing the diner was thrilling, but it meant she'd be facing scrutiny, responsibility, and the weight of failure. Self-doubt began to seep into the corners of her resolve. Was she truly equipped to spearhead this transformation? Each imagined setback ricocheted in her mind, dulling her excitement. She had gotten used to living under the shadow of her own fears. Overcoming this challenge meant stepping into the very light she craved yet dreaded. As she watched customers come and go, she recognized a familiar face among the crowd. It was Alice, a loyal patron and an entrepreneur known for her creative ventures. A flash of inspiration sparked. Instead of retreating, Lily could reach out to Alice for insight into managing a business. The thought of seeking advice felt liberating. It signaled a willingness to grow beyond her own limits. "Hey, Alice," Lily called, surprising herself with the eagerness in her voice.
The small business owner turned, her welcoming smile brightening the corner of the room. "Lily, I didn't know you were here. How's everything?" Regardless of the heaviness enveloping her, Lily could sense a shift in her energy. "Actually, I'm working on revitalizing the diner. I could really use your expertise," she admitted, the vulnerability of her words freeing rather than frightening. Alice's excitement mirrored her own. "That's fantastic. I'd love to help. What ideas do you have so far?" Their conversation erupted into brainstorming, the walls of doubt around Lily beginning to dissolve. She felt emboldened as they discussed everything from marketing strategies to menu innovations. Each suggestion ignited new possibilities, providing a framework upon which she could build her confidence. Yet, as they chatted, she felt the flickering shadow of Jake's mention of emotional distance loom behind her, a reminder of that precarious balance she needed to strike. Could she lean into her burgeoning ambitions without losing Jake in the process? With Alice's encouragement fueling the fire, a more daunting realization began to settle in. It was not only about the diner, but about who she was becoming. "You have such a great vision, Lily," Alice said, sincerity glistening in her eyes. "Don't
be afraid to go all in. You'll surprise yourself." The weight of Alice's words sank deep, a comforting acknowledgement of Lily's potential. As their conversation wrapped up, Lily was filled with new ideas and invigorated purpose. The doubts still nipped at her heels, but they felt more like fleeting whispers than solid walls. She stood a little taller, believing more in her own capabilities. Returning to Jake later that day, she was eager to share her new insights. He listened intently, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm as she laid out her ambitions. For the first time in a while, fear transformed into a shared vision. They were no longer focused on what they could lose, but rather on what they could create together. However, as they finished discussing plans for their next steps, she sensed a lingering undercurrent of unease in Jake. The shared excitement felt precariously tethered to something unspoken, a reminder that her awakening might unearth insecurities he hadn't yet confronted. "What if this doesn't go the way we hope?" he asked hesitantly, the vulnerability in his voice evident. Lily hesitated, her heart racing with the realization that the next phase was unfolding not only for the diner, but for their relationship as well. "What if we embrace the fear and learn as we go? Growth comes with risks, doesn't it?" Jake locked eyes with her, and for a moment they shared a breath, the tension simmering between hope and fear crackling like electricity. "Let's do it," he resolved, a cautious determination coloring his words. But she could see the shadows flickering as he searched her face for assurance. The balancing act had transformed into a dance of exploration and uncertainty. And just as she felt the first pause in rhythm, she understood this was just the beginning. Questions flooded back. What if their dreams collided? What sacrifices would they face amid their ambition? As the day's decisions settled around them, uncertainty loomed larger yet again. Lily had taken significant strides toward her aspirations, but she couldn't ignore the gnawing thought that the real journey with real stakes was truly only about to unfold. Lily awoke the next morning with the sunrise spilling through her window, illuminating motes of dust floating in the golden light. The weight of the previous day's decisions lingered, and as she sipped her coffee, she felt the familiar shadows of trepidation creeping back in. Revamping the diner wasn't merely an entrepreneurial endeavor. It was an awakening of her own identity, one that demanded responsibility and an unyielding belief in herself. As she located her notebook, its pages filled with hasty notes and half-baked ideas, excitement mingled with anxiety. Today, she would take tangible steps towards executing the revitalization plan. But how could she convert her vision into reality? Each stroke of her pen felt both promising and daunting, her thoughts spiraling into the possibilities of failure. The first item on her agenda was to draft a budget. Faculty from her former business course rushed back into her memory like echoes in a classroom, reminding her of the fundamentals of cost analysis and resource allocation. Although she felt her pulse quicken, Lily felt an inner resolve surge. She was stepping away from the shadows of fear into a reality illuminated by opportunity. While calculating initial costs for renovations and marketing, Lily's thoughts split about Jake. His hesitation had pricked at her confidence, casting a shadow over her excitement. If their dreams were to align, they would need to communicate openly, articulating both aspirations and apprehensions. The conversation they had shared yesterday clung to her with an unsettling mix of hope and doubt. Lily scrolled through her contacts, finally landing on Alice's name. She hesitated, but then resolved to reach out for advice on managing finances and workflows. "Hey Alice, do you have time to meet today?" After a very brief exchange, she felt a rush of reassurance. Meeting Alice that afternoon could help bridge her uncertainties, providing not only knowledge but also a vital sense of community. This outreach signaled maturity, a recognition that she didn't need to traverse this path alone. The clock seemed to taunt her as the hours dragged until their meeting. When they finally sat down at a small cafe, Alice's enthusiasm was palpable. She dove directly into the operational aspects of business management, illuminating areas Lily hadn't even considered. "Outsource what you can," Alice advised, her eyes gleaming with insight. "Hire specialists for areas outside your strengths. You can focus on branding and customer interaction while leaving the numbers to someone skilled." Each piece of wisdom washed over Lily like a cool breeze on a scorching day. The practical approaches began to seep into her consciousness, crafting a more distinct picture of the diner's future. Yet somewhere beneath the layers of practicality, her apprehensions about Jake clung resolutely. Would he be able to adapt to the rapid changes on the horizon? Could their relationship withstand the stress and demands of her ambitions? Just as those thoughts threatened to drown out Alice's voice, Lily snapped back into the conversation. They discussed the importance of a marketing plan, identifying target customers, and creating an online presence. The vibrant ideas painted a vivid path forward. Each suggestion was a brick laid down toward her burgeoning empire, and painting the future in broad strokes of color energized her spirit. As they wrapped up their meeting, Alice leaned in closer, her tone shifting. "Lily, I see so much potential in you, but don't forget to nurture your own relationships while you're building this. It's easy to lose sight of what's important." Those words sank in. The strongest connections require attention, just like any budding business. If she neglected her bond with Jake, all would falter, and Lily couldn't allow that to happen. Returning home, she felt both a sense of empowerment and impending disquietude. She began drafting a message to Jake, her heart quickening with every tap of her fingers on the keypad. They needed to establish dialogue, not just about the diner, but about everything ahead. But as she began typing, doubt clouded her resolve. Would her ambitions cage him emotionally? Would he withdraw further? The message hesitated on her screen, hovering between her need for clarity and the fear of his potential reaction. As uncertainty churned inside her, a new realization emerged. This was an integral part of growth. The risk of vulnerability was essential, no less critical than any financial strategy. With a deep breath, she hit send, feeling a weight lift only to be replaced by a heady mix of exhilaration and dread. As she waited for his reply, Lily realized she wasn't simply propagating a plan for a diner. She was exploring all facets of herself, each step shaping her identity in raw and unpredictable ways. But just as she began catching a glimpse of her future, a notification pinged on her phone. Jake's name illuminated the screen, but the words that followed unspooled a fresh wave of anxiety that threatened to derail her newfound confidence. "I need to talk to you about something serious." What could it possibly be? Her heart raced. The real challenges she'd been preparing for were about to manifest. Lily's heart thudded in her chest as she read Jake's message again, each word echoing in her mind. What could be so serious? She felt a swell of panic tinged with a hint of apprehension as images of worst-case scenarios, financial troubles, personal conflicts flashed across her thoughts. She took a deep breath, willing herself to maintain clarity. This moment was pivotal. Within her gripping unease lay a decision. Would she bolster her bravery and face the uncertainties head-on, Or would she allow fear to dictate her response like a marionette on strings? She mentally shook off the debilitating doubts, reminding herself of Alice's counsel about nurturing relationships alongside building her business. Lily decided to respond quickly, suppressing the rapid-fire questions racing through her head. "Can we meet at our usual spot? Are you okay?" she typed, feeling both hesitant and resolute. There was no turning back now. She pressed send and stared at the screen, waiting for a reply that felt as weighty as the future itself. While she waited, a flurry of ideas about the diner flooded her mind. The vision she had drafted during her meeting with Alice began to take form. Innovative menu offerings, a warm layout that reflected her unique style, and an ambitious marketing campaign that showcased the diner as a beacon of community life. Yet, how could she balance these aspirations with the potential turbulence in her personal life? The phone chimed again, jolting her from reverie. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Let's talk." The straightforward language didn't reveal much, but it kept her heart racing. She gathered herself and prepared to meet Jake, her mind oscillating between her passion for the diner and the emotional complexities of their relationship. Walking towards their usual coffee spot, she allowed her thoughts to drift to Alice's encouraging words. Was she truly capable of both nurturing her personal life and achieving her professional dreams? Or was she setting herself up for failure in one arena or the other? Upon arriving, she ordered a coffee, hoping the brief ritual would calm her nerves. The moment she settled at their corner table, the familiar decor enveloped her. Soft colors, rustic furniture, and the faint aroma of pastries that always felt like home. This was where she had shared countless conversations with Jake, moments of laughter, dreams spun out of reach, as well as remnants of their shared past. As she stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, she felt a sense of anticipation build. Moments later, she spotted Jake striding through the cafe entrance. He looked slightly disheveled, shadows under his eyes hinting at sleepless nights. As he caught sight of her, the corners of his mouth flickered to form a hesitant smile, creating a sharp contrast to the tension hovering around him. "Hey," he greeted softly, sliding into the seat opposite her. The weight in his voice matched that in her chest. "Hey," she replied, her heart drumming in her ears. "You wanted to talk?" Jake took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts like a soldier preparing for battle. "I've been thinking a lot about your diner plans, and—" he paused, wrestling with the next words. "I'm not sure I can keep pace with everything that's changing." Her pulse quickened at the admission, the inner turmoil rising again. His words stung like a slap across the face, bringing forth a cruel dread that they might not be able to weather the strain together. "What do you mean?" she probed, trying to maintain a steady bravado. "I'm just worried," he continued, his eyes attempting to search hers for understanding. "You have these big dreams, Lily, and I feel like I don't fit into that picture anymore. What if I hold you back?" In that moment, the implications of his statement sent a jolt through her, propelling her into action. This was more than a relationship issue. It was an intersection of their lives, their dreams colliding. The challenge standing before them felt insurmountable, yet within that darkness shimmered the possibility of clarity and resolution. "Jake, you're not holding me back. I want you by my side through all of this," she expressed earnestly, her voice stronger than she felt. "But we have to communicate. We can't allow fear to dictate what we share or how we dream." As she spoke, she felt a flicker of resolve ignite within her, a conviction that they could tackle uncertainty together. But the question loomed. Could she truly convince him to believe in their future, or would this moment spiral into an end? The air crackled with intensity as they held each other's gaze, the space teetering on the precipice of revelation. Somewhere in the urgency of the moment, a decision, perhaps the most crucial, needed to be made. And as her heart fluttered with a mixture of hope and impending doom, she realized their next steps could either tether them together or splinter them apart forever. Before she could voice her thoughts, Jake's phone buzzed, interrupting the charged silence. "Sorry, I need to check this," he murmured, his tension palpable. But the way he sighed hinted at deeper uncertainties that made her stomach twist. He read the message, his brow furrowing, and Lily could sense that whatever it contained was pivotal. As he looked up at her, his expression shifted from confusion to something akin to dread, leaving Lily hanging on the edge of a cliff. What news awaited him, and how would it shape their already fragile conversation? "Lily," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "we need to talk about what just came through." Her breath caught in her throat. The stakes were rising, and whatever was about to unfold could change everything. Lily's mind raced as Jake stared at her, tension knotting in the air between them. The weight of unspoken words pressed heavily against her chest, making it hard to breathe. The cafe around them faded into a blur. The sweet smell of coffee and pastries became a distant echo. For a moment, everything hung in the balance, as if the world had drawn a breath for the revelation to come. "Did something happen?" she asked, her voice steadying despite the turmoil within. She sharpened her focus, channeling the anxiety into determination. This was a defining moment, not just for their relationship, but for her own path forward. She had to confront whatever was thrown her way. Jake was avoiding her gaze, his hands fidgeting with the hem of his jacket. "It's my manager called," he finally said, hesitation framing his words. "There's a chance I might get laid off. The company is restructuring and they're looking to cut costs." Her stomach sank. It felt like the ground beneath her crumbled. Uncertainty surged through her. How could she possibly balance their relationship with the potential upheaval that lay ahead? Fresh vulnerability twisted through her resolve. Yet, deep inside, a flicker of strength emerged. "Jake," she said softly, leaning forward, "what does that mean for you and for us?" He met her eyes, and she could see pain mixed with determination. "I don't know. I've put everything into this job, and now I'm questioning what comes next." The rawness of his emotion hit her like a wave. She sensed the conflict within him, an echo of her own struggles. Lily swallowed hard, attempting to process her feelings. "But what if this is a chance for you to pursue something else, something you've always wanted?" Even as she spoke, doubt crept in. Was she giving him false hope? Yet Alice's words echoed in her mind, "Embrace the unknown." It might be, but he let the thought trail off, frustration evident in his features. "Will I just be a liability for you? Your dreams are so big. I can't imagine fitting into all of that." Gripping the edge of the table, Lily pushed against the anxiety constricting her. "Jake, I want us to dream together. You can't keep viewing yourself through the lens of what you think I need. I need you to help me navigate this." As their eyes locked, the truth of her statement settled between them. A shared understanding formed, however tenuous. She could feel the flicker of possibilities igniting, a chance for both of them to redefine their trajectory, to take control of their lives. But the complexity of their situation weighed heavily on her mind. They needed to be honest about their fears and hopes, to dismantle the illusions that had bound them both. Deep down, she knew clarity was often birthed from discomfort. "Let's make a plan," she proposed, excitement mingling with fear. "If this job doesn't work out, what would you want to do next? Is there something you've always dreamed of?" A glimmer of surprise lit his eyes, as if he hadn't considered that possibility. "I always thought I might start a small business, something creative, but I've been too scared to take that leap." "Then let's take that leap together," she replied, her voice imbued with newfound confidence. "You've been behind the scenes while I chase my dream. It's time to be bold. We can build something together." With each word, Lily felt the ice within her begin to thaw. This conversation wasn't just about her dreams. It was a bridge for them to rediscover their connection and potential as partners.
But before her enthusiasm could fully blossom, Jake hesitated again. The fear she sensed lurking within him had not completely dissipated. "What if my plan doesn't work, though?" he asked, doubt creeping back into his tone. His vulnerability tugged at Lily's heartstrings, a reminder of how deeply their dreams were intertwined. "Then we adapt, we figure it out. That's the process of growth, Jake," she asserted, the urgency in her voice gaining momentum. "We're learning together. Right now, we can't be afraid to lay it all out and be honest with each other." Their hands brushed over the table, an instinctive move that sparked warmth and connection between them. But deep down, Lily questioned whether their newfound determination would be enough to navigate the impending storms. Would they truly distinguish themselves amid the uncertainties? As the cafe buzzed around them, filling the void with life, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real journey had just begun. And Jake's hesitance loomed over them, a heavy cloud that threatened to obscure their path. "Let's schedule a brainstorming session," she suggested, her heart racing with the weight of what was yet to come. "This is just the start. We can dive deeper into our plans and really plot your next move." But just as hope flickered to life, another message chimed in Jake's phone, drawing his attention away. He glanced at the screen, face paling as whatever he read unfolded a new layer of tension. "Lily," he breathed, his voice fraught. "There's something else I need to tell you." As the air thickened with unspoken tensions, Lily felt the ground shift once more beneath her. What revelation could follow this? Would it solidify their resolve or turn everything upside down again? The anxiety settled back in, but she knew this was a crossroad. Their next moves could define everything. Lily felt her pulse quicken as she awaited Jake's next words, but urgency in his gaze stirred an impending dread deep within her. What could possibly jeopardize this fragile but promising conversation? She steadied her breath, attempting to maintain composure. There was a chance that whatever news Jake bore could either strengthen their bond or unravel it entirely. "What's the message?" she asked, her voice firm yet gentle. He held the phone tightly, his knuckles whitening. "It's from the office," he said, each syllable pronounced with unmistakable gravity. "There's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. It's for the layoffs." The stark reality of that statement struck Lily like a cold slap. She had known it was a possibility, but hearing it framed as a concrete event felt real, felt threatening. Echoes of fear merged with the litany of uncertainty they were facing. Yet those emotions mingled with burgeoning hope that somehow this might catalyze a positive change. "What will you do?" she asked, probing deeper. Jake met her gaze, the conflict between fear and resolve writ large across his features. "I have to think about my options," he said slowly. "But if I hold on to this job, I could miss out on a chance to pursue something meaningful, something I've always dreamed of. There's just so much at stake." "Then we'll process this the same way we talked about your plans earlier. You deserve to pursue what makes you happy." Lily leaned in slightly, her conviction bubbling forth. "You can't allow fear to dictate your future, Jake. It's time to be proactive. Let's map out a business model tonight. We can brainstorm ideas." In that moment, she could see his barriers begin to crack, the weight of despair lifting, if only slightly. Maybe it was the idea of teaming together, a renewed partnership forged from the embers of uncertainty, that ignited something new in him. "You really mean that?" Jake's eyes were wide, searching for the reassurance she proposed. "What if it fails? We adapt. Failure is part of the process. But stagnation? That's scarier." Her voice was steady. She felt deeper clarity within herself as the two of them unpeeled their layers of fear together. Understanding dawned in Jake's eyes. "You're right. I've been holding on for too long, clinging to a position I thought defined me. Maybe it is finally time to redefine that." They sat in a trance of budding hope, juxtaposed with the ominous uncertainty of impending layoffs. This conversation, born from fear, had morphed into an opportunity for transformation. Yet even as determination flourished between them, a nagging thought slinked back into Lily's mind.
They still had to face the harsh reality of potentially losing a steady income. How would they sustain themselves as dreams turned into plans? Would embracing this gradually consume them? Jake's phone chimed again, and the tension escalated anew. Lily caught a glimpse of Jake's expression. His relief ebbed, replaced by the unease of unavoidable consequences. What is it now? The question felt like a shot in the dark, but she needed to know. It's about my coworkers. He swallowed hard, the weight of loyalty evident in his demeanor. Some of them have families to support. I can't just throw in the towel because I found a potential dream. It wouldn't feel right. Lily's heart sank. This conflict between personal desire and loyalty was painfully familiar. It resonated within her own struggles. Could she be supportive without martyring herself? Did he realize the barrier he was erecting around them? You'll need to make your choice, Jake, she said softly, a mixture of firmness and gentleness in her tone. You can't carry the world on your shoulders alone. You're allowed to pursue your own happiness. You mean something to me. This means something to us. There was a moment of quiet introspection, the weight of her unresolved feelings hanging heavy in the air. She needed him to see that his intrinsic value wasn't tethered to his job title. Succeeding at something you love means far more than sticking with something out of fear for others, she finally said, watching as realization began to dawn in his eyes once more. Jake's expression shifted. Layers of uncertainty began to peel back. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, the phone rang again, a sharp, jarring interruption that pulled them from this moment of clarity. Let me take this call. No, she interjected, her voice threaded with urgency. We need to decide how we're moving forward before his call changes everything. As Jake stared at her, a wrestling match of thoughts visible in his expression, she wondered whether their fortitude would truly be challenged. Would he lean into the leap or retreat into the familiar safety net of his job? The choices ahead felt monumental. In that vibrant cafe, with lives fluttering around them, Lily knew they needed to confront not just their dreams, but the heavy specter of impending decisions that could forever alter their lives together. But as Jake's phone rang on, a new reality awaited their fragile resolve. Lily, we might really need a plan, and fast, he finally said, tension lacing his voice again, as if a storm loomed on the horizon. What decision would he make? And would their dreams survive the onslaught of truth that loomed ahead, ready to redefine them once more? Lily's heart raced as Jake stared blankly at his phone, the ringing echoing like a relentless reminder of the uncertainty weighing heavily upon them. Each chime was a call to action, tempting him back into a world riddled with the very fears they had been unraveling. Moments ago, she could feel the tension curling around them, threatening to ensnare their budding resolve. Jake, she said softly, her voice reaching for him, if you're truly ready for change, then let's not delay it. This is just the beginning. He met her gaze, uncertainty warring with aspiration. The storm inside him was palpable. What if I dive in head first and it all collapses? What if I abandon my coworkers and everything I've built so far? Doubt dripped from his words. Then we'll figure it out, she replied, her tone steady. But think about it. Staying might be a safe choice, but at what cost? A life built on what-ifs is no life at all. His eyes flickered with acknowledgement. The clash of compassion and ambition rattled within him, and as that clash reached a crescendo, Lily seized the moment. Let's start by identifying the core of your dream. What has always been your passion, Jake? We need clarity to move forward. Instead of retreating further into self-doubt, Jake slowly began to articulate thoughts he had buried for too long. I've always wanted to create something, a tech solution, something to assist small businesses. I've seen how they struggle with efficiency, and I'd love to develop tools to help them thrive. Her heart danced at his revelation. That's a spark. We can build on that. What resources will you need? What's the first step in turning that vision into reality? As Jake began to explore the logistics, Lily observed the subtle shift in his demeanor. The dream, once buried under layers of fear, now breathed. She smiled, her encouragement lighting a fire inside him. Yet the nagging worry loomed, a reminder of the harsh uncertainties lying in wait. She watched him closely, recognizing the familiar hesitations creeping back in as he contemplated the magnitude of the leap he was considering. "It's monumental, isn't it?" she whispered, resignation seeping into her tone. "Yeah," he replied, his voice faltering, a mixture of excitement and anxiety in his gaze. "I guess so. But what if I'm not good enough to pull it off? What if I'm just a phony?" "Phony?" she echoed, her voice now laced with a bit of frustration. "You're not a phony, Jake. You are someone who has valuable experience and insight. How can you not see that?" His glance flicked toward the bustling cafe, where laughter mingled with the scent of coffee. "It's easier to see the risks than the rewards, Lily. The world out there, there's so much that can go wrong. And what if I fail, in front of everyone?" A sudden flame ignited within her. What if you don't? What if you truly succeed? You owe it to yourself to at least chase this passion a little harder. Don't let the fear of failure paralyze you. He inhaled deeply, contemplating her words. There was allure in her challenge. The call to risk echoed in the promise of something greater. The walls in Jake's heart began to breathe. Crack further. "Okay," he finally breathed. "But this will require a significant leap, financially, emotionally, every way." She nodded, understanding fully that they were standing at the precipice of something unpredictable. "We can recalibrate our life plan. Whatever happens, we'll tackle it together." A hint of hope burst through Jake's uncertainty, and he tightened his grip on the phone, not as a leash to hold him back, but as a tether to this emerging possibility. Suddenly, his phone buzzed once more, jarring them from the moment. He hesitated before answering, glancing at Lily's expectant expression. "I can't ignore this call," he said, urgency creeping back into his voice. "Jake, this is your moment. Do you really want to risk losing this momentum to the past?" He held her gaze, an inner battle raging behind his eyes. With a ponderous weight of the decision, he hesitated before finally answering. "What if this call is the push I need?" In an uproar of clashing emotions, he took a deep breath, his resolve tightening. And as the call connected, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would seal or shatter everything they were building. How would he navigate the conversation on the other end? Would he fortify himself or retreat back into the maze of safety? The horizon of their budding partnership shimmered with possibility, yet uncertainty lingered. The path to newfound potential was shrouded in the unknown, and Lily's heart pounded, bracing for whatever came next. The tension in the cafe was electric, palpable with anticipation and unspoken fears. Lily watched as Jake answered the call, his face shifting in response to whatever was being relayed to him. Every second felt elongated, like a taut string ready to snap. "Hello? Yes, this is Jake Sullivan." His voice echoed, steady yet laced with the underlying tension of the moment. As he listened, the silence felt heavy, stretching across the table like a chasm. Lily felt each beat in her chest, her breath cycling in tandem with the rising stakes. Finally, Jake's expression shifted, confusion giving way to understanding, then determination. "I appreciate the update, thank you." He ended the call firmly, looking across at her, the weight of their conversation now heavier. "What did they say?" she asked gently, her curiosity tinged with concern. "They informed me that those facing layoffs have options to transition into alternative roles or take a severance package," he stated, his voice edged with an undercurrent of relief mixed with uncertainty. Lily leaned in, sensing a shift in him. "What do you feel is right for you?" Jake seemed to release a breath he'd been holding, contemplation dawning in his features. "I've been thinking about what defines me. Maybe this is my chance to step into a more authentic version of myself," he admitted slowly. "I can't just keep waiting for someone else to build my future.
A smile broke across her face, pride swelling within her. That's it, Jake. You're realizing your worth isn't tied solely to your
job as a prophet of your own success. The words flowed naturally, each syllable lifting their hopes higher. Realistically, though, stepping away feels risky, he countered, staring at the tabletop, his fingers tracing the grain of the wood, pulling at the threads of vulnerability. Every growth moment comes with uncertainty. The true risk lies in choosing stagnation, she urged, her voice clenched with passion. What you choose today could lead to a future that's more aligned with your values. Jake looked like he was grappling with a truth that had been hidden before. You're right. I just need to lean into this, don't I? Yes, but it's about more than just you, she emphasized, her voice taking on a warmth that reached toward him. This affects both of us, the diner and your ideas. We're intertwined now. We're a team. As he searched her gaze, awareness washed over their connection. Together, we'll create something we believe in. I can help you with your dreams, and you can support mine. It's an exchange, not a sacrifice. The realization lit up behind his eyes, clarity guiding them further into the unknown. However, the past few months loomed large, and Lily couldn't help but reflect on how each fear had served as a catalyst for their growth. Remember when we started this journey, she prompted, encouraging the acknowledgement of shared hurdles they'd faced. We were lost in our own insecurities, yet now we're here, standing together, trying to build something real. A shadow of doubt flickered across Jake's features, but Lily was resolute. The diner revitalization is more than just a project. It's about our lives. It's about defining who we are apart from our roles in the past. I want this, Jake affirmed, his voice strengthening with conviction. I want to push through the fear. I want to believe in myself and in us. Lily's heart soared, the darkness of uncertainty lifting as they leaned into a commitment to explore their individual dreams side by side. Then let's map this out. The words flowed naturally, excitement igniting her spirit. Forget the obstacles. We'll brainstorm ideas that enchant and engage. He nodded, determination settling over him. I want to be a part of this whole thing, Lily. I'm ready to redefine success together. Let's make it happen. I'll draft a plan and you'll begin sketching those ideas, she encouraged, her voice buoyant with anticipation. We can work on this each night, infusing our dreams into reality. As they exchanged their vision, their intertwined hopes seemed to solidify into something tangible, something they would conquer together instead of apart. But right before they wrapped up the conversation, Jake's phone unexpectedly pinged again, breaking through the now-found sense of clarity. I should check this. Lily's heart stuttered. Even the tiniest disruption threatened their fragile momentum. No, she interrupted, steadying her posture. This is our moment to stay focused. Whatever needs attention later can wait. Be present with me. He hesitated, the familiar flicker of uncertainty creeping back in. But he sought her eyes, finding strength reflected back at him. With a nod, he placed his phone face down on the table. Let's secure our vision, one brick at a time. As they began sketching their distributed tasks, excitement replaced fear, while the cafe around them buzzed with life. It felt like a rebirth. For the first time in ages, they were not bound by suffocating expectations, but propelled forward by shared dreams. Their plans took shape, each idea synchronized with passion. She was transforming as he burned his fear. In that vibrant space, with each shared ambition, they cemented their partnership, not just in business, but in life. Days surfaced ahead, filled with exciting challenges. The work ahead would not be without bumps. Yet, through focused collaboration, they stood ready to tackle whatever arose, together. As the cafe's energy pulsed around them, Lily felt their resolve solidifying. They were not just dreaming about a future, but actively building it piece by piece. Let's launch this and embrace the unknown together, Jake said, a smile breaking across his face. Yes, she affirmed, hope bursting from her. This is our moment to shine.
In that warmth, a newfound ambition surged within them, solidifying a promise to navigate the complexities of their lives, not as two individuals, but as partners daring to conquer the world, one revitalizing step at a time. "Here's to our future," she toasted, raising her coffee cup towards his. "Here's to us," he replied, their cups clinking in celebration of the journey ahead. And within that moment, amidst the vivid chatter and cozy comforts of the cafe, they knew that they were on the path to something extraordinary, a personal and professional renaissance rooted in trust, hope, and love. The adventure awaited, and they were ready to embrace every bit of it. Do not wait even one more second to share this journey with your friends. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters. Comment your thoughts and theories about Lily and Jake's transformative journey. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. You need to support the channel, because true fans of personal overcoming stories understand how important your engagement is.